In the Lab, a Texans podcast that takes a different look at things. Drew Dougherty and John Harris have their lab coats and goggles on, and the Bunsen burners burning. Here's Drew.
Welcome one, welcome all to In the Lab. Drew Dougherty with my good pal John Harris waving his big paw there. He has size 57 hands. It's the largest hand.
And a half.
And 57 and a half. Largest hands in the Lab podcast universe. How are you, buddy?
I am doing very, very well. Yes, these mitts right here, they're not quite, DeAndre Hopkins or, DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner had size almost 12-inch hands. But when I was in 7th grade, when we did our team picture, you do team picture for basketball, and you all sit there and then somebody holds the ball, in the middle. They were like, Johnny, just palm ball. So I sat for our team picture, and I'm palming 2 basketball in 7th grade. So I've had these paws for a long time. So combine these paws with this head in 7th grade with like the stick body, I looked like
Marmaduke. You were Marmaduke.
Yeah, I looked like a stick drawing on the back of people's car.
Yeah.
This 7th grader will beat up your 10th grader.
It's always something to hang your hat on, for sure.
Of course.
That was David Anderson, too. He grew early. Listen, today we're going to have fun again. This is very in the labby. All of them are in the labby, but this is especially in the labby because you and I are going to add some help from the outside, but we're adding help really from within the state. We're sending Texans to the Texans, meaning you and I are going to ping pong back and forth. We each get 2 players to add to the current Texans roster, players who are not on the Texans, but they're in the NFL and they played their high school ball in a Texas high school. So you can't get guys who were, coming in from out of state and starring at Texas, like Ricky Williams back in the day. He's from San Diego. You can't get guys who are, you can get guys from Texas. Anyways, it made me, getting Ross Blacklock made me think of all this because it's like he's just down the road. You're adding local help. So we're going to do that. And I know one of the first names that comes to mind is the reigning Super Bowl MVP, the 2018 NFL regular season MVP, Patrick Mahomes. He'd be a good guy to add to any team. But I think you and I both agree, we like the guy under center for the Texans. Yeah. And, there's help you can get elsewhere, right?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Number 4, we're good. And it's interesting you bring this up today, Drew, because back, speaking of Mahomes, it was probably about, about 4 weeks ago, maybe less than that, about 3-4 weeks ago. Patrick Mahomes and Mecole Hardman got in a fight. A discussion of who would win if you made a team of players from the state of Georgia, versus players from the state of Texas.
Right.
So I've already done some advanced homework on this particular task that we're about to do. But you're right, Patrick Mahomes. No, the irony is that the Texas team would feature Patrick Mahomes and the Georgia team would feature Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, no doubt.
But in this case, they're flipped because we want number 4. He's our guy.
Right. We're not going with a quarterback. You could also do Matt Stafford or Drew Brees or Tannehill. There's a number of options you could go with. Yeah, you can go down the line, Texas quarterbacks. But we're going to go elsewhere. Johnny Manziel. Yeah, sure. We're going to go elsewhere for help.
Okay.
And I'm going to start things off. And I know we're going to get pass rush help, so I'm going to wait. And I'm going to get a non-negotiable. This guy must be added to the Texans if he's available. And I'm going with a safety. It's Jamal Adams.
Yep.
He's played his high school ball up in the Metroplex, Louisville, Hebron High School. It's listed as Carrollton Hebron, but I'm pretty sure it's Louisville Hebron.
I think it is Louisville, yeah.
Yeah. This guy's a playmaker. You pair him up with Justin Reed, and I love what they can do. I think the safeties for the Texans are going to work out well. We heard defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver talking last week about how excited he is about the safety group currently with the Texans. But if you can add a playmaker like that to this team, make it happen. Because I know elsewhere we're going to add some pass rush help, which I think you should also bolster as well. But safety helps at a premium too, and that's who I like. I'm going with Jamal Adams.
Yeah, Jamal Adams is a good one. When Jamal Adams was on the block, or there were rumors that he was on the block, was like, but I know he's going to be expensive. But, man, I watched of course, I watched him up close, and we saw him up close against us in 18, and he's just as impressive live. But I saw him against Texas Tech, against Patrick Mahomes,
right,
in that Texas Bowl. I mean, that Texas Bowl, we go back and look at it between Leonard
littered
Fournette,
with
Patrick
stars,
Mahomes,
man, littered with stars,
loaded,
yeah.
so loaded in that particular game, and he's been on the field. He's tremendous. I watched on NFL Game Pass. They have these things called whiteboard sessions. And Brian Baldinger and Ron Jaworski bring in players from all different walks of football life, if you will. And so they brought in Jamal Adams to do a film session, basically. And he was unbelievable. I was just blown away. Just the things that he saw, the things that he pointed out, that he was recognizing, that I was like, this guy, wow.
And that's why he'd pair nicely in that safety room, in the defensive backs room, with Justin Reed, because Justin Reed, everybody says the same things about him as far as diagnosing film, so on and so on. He picked that up from his brother, who, by the way, was an LSU safety. So yeah, they'd make nice kindred spirits there at the back of that defense.
Yeah. Now, I know that the Texans have attacked the pass rush. They've added Ross Blacklock inside. Mm-hmm. They have added John Grenard to the outside. Hopefully, things are going to work out, and we're going to get confirmation about Timmy Jernigan. We'll see where that goes. But I always feel like you can continue to strengthen a strength. Mm-hmm. And I know some people say, well, is that a strength for the Texans? And hopefully by the amount of draft equity, the amount of free agent equity that they have at that position, they'll eventually be able to find the right mix. And combined with Anthony Weaver and the scheme and different things they're going to do, they're going to be able to get to the quarterback. That said, there are three guys that I'm looking at, and I'm trying to decide which one makes the most sense, because Von Miller makes a ton of sense. He's also up in years. Myles Garrett makes a ton of sense because he is as freaky as anybody I've ever seen on a football field. But I still think he's more athlete than football player yet. But to me, one of the most underrated pass rushers in the entire league, who was dominant last year, and the Saints could not block him in a wild card game, was Danielle Hunter.
Got him. Yeah.
Got him.
Good. Yeah. Good
Got
call.
him.
Good call.
Yeah. And so when I said I did some homework, Drew, I went through and I put together an 11 on offense and 11 on defense. And I tried to figure out like how I was going to stuff everybody into this roster. And so basically what I ended up with was 2 defensive linemen and 4 edge rushers. And I mentioned 2 of the 3, the other one being Jerry Hughes. I don't know if Jerry will end up being drafted, but Jerry was an incredible player in high school at Sugar Land Bush High School. In fact, my dad coached against him when he was a running back. And then they moved him when he got to TCU to become an edge rusher. And obviously the rest is history. But Danielle Hunter, to me, is the most, which is weird to say because coming out of LSU, he was not polished at all. Yeah. He was still kind of gangly and awkward a little bit. But, man, he had some pass rush abilities. And he just tore it up in 2019. So I'm going to take Danielle Hunter as my first pick off the edge from Morton Ranch High School. Yeah,
he tore it up last year. He tore it up the year before as well. I mean, it's a couple of 14.5 sack seasons. That's pretty darn good. And Morton Ranch obviously represented. So we've got Louisville Hebron, Morton Ranch. And now for my final pick, this is tricky because –
did I take your guy?
I mean, he was definitely – he was one of them. But there's a few other options. I really, really want to take Mike Evans because I think out of all these guys, aside from Von Miller, I think he's the very best player of them all.
Yes.
Aside from Von Miller. Von's the best.
Right.
But then I think Mike Evans is. But I think then there's strengthening a strength, and then there's like choking on a strength. And I think that would be the problem here. So
yeah,
Mike Evans, as much as I love you and I would love to have you on my team, the inn is full tonight. Okay. So now, I'm really tempted by also adding Von.
Yes.
Or Jeff Okudah, because I think young cornerback help is something to be – there's something to be said for that. He went to South Grand Prairie High, but he's not a proven quantity yet. He's still a rookie.
Yeah.
And, man, Ed Oliver is still sitting out there. And I know Ross Blacklock is somewhat similar position-wise, but Ed Oliver can move around. Ross Blacklock can move around. And if you're messing with people and you've already got Danielle Hunter off the edge,
Yep.
I think I'm gonna go with Ed Oliver. I think this locker room, he'd fit in well. There'd be some folks he could kind of talk with and talk it out, and then on the field he'd ball out. So you'd add Oliver and Blacklock in the middle, two young dudes. Then you got Danielle Hunter, he's about 5 years in now. It's pretty young pass rush to go with Whitney, to go with J.J. Watt and the other guys there. So I'm going to add Ed Oliver. You cool with that? Does that work for you?
Wow. We're pretty good up front. Danielle Hunter, Ed Oliver, J.J. Watt, Ross Blacklock, Whitney Merciless. We're very, very good. Now, there was one name when you said Jeffrey Okudah, I went, oh, no. Because the name that I was thinking about, and I've got it down to two names, and I'm trying to figure out, because you mentioned Mike Evans, and I considered Mike, and I was like, man, I love Mike. And I was really high on Mike coming out. I remember when I did my first, it was kind of my first Harris 100. In 2014, I had Mike at number 7. And I caught more grief for that than maybe any other thing I did.
Hey, in retrospect, you might have had him too low.
And then he ended up going 6.
Yeah.
I think 6. And I remember tweeting after that, like, maybe I know what I'm talking about. And then, of course, Mike has turned into a big-time player.
He's been phenomenal. Yeah.
He's been incrediable.
He might be the greatest Texas receiver of all time. Texas high school receiver.
Yeah. Oh, boy. That's a tough question. But I mean, we've gone straight defense. So I figure I do kind of want to go offense a little bit. And Mike makes a ton of sense. However, I'm going to go a little bit younger, similar, but younger. And I know what we have at the wide receiver position. I understand, and strengthening his strength and all that. I think that Brenham Cubs, Cortland Sutton would end up being a superstar. He's going to be a superstar in our league. He's going to be that guy.
I just did my go red, go blue, go Mustangs.
I'm a little surprised you didn't come up with that.
Well, I'm all defense.
I just think Sutton's a little bit different from what the Texans have at the wide receiver position because of that size. He does have speed. Now, he's not in the same category as these 3 Jets of Stills, Fuller, and Cooks. But that joker can run. And I remember there was some debate when he came out in 2018. He doesn't run fast enough. He doesn't do this. I don't know. I'm not all impressed. I remember watching the very first time I saw him, and I thought, I don't know what y'all are talking about. This guy can play. This guy is a big-time player. So I'm going to take Cortland Sutton. He's going into his 3rd year. He has been incredibly productive with really not a ton at quarterback for the Broncos. And now I give him to Deshaun Watson, and I give Deshaun Watson to him. Because I think we do need to address the offense, we'll go with Cortland Sutton. So Danielle Hunter, Cortland Sutton, you go Ed Oliver, and who did I miss?
Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is first, yeah. So to recap, 3 assets on the defense. Jamal Adams at safety out of Louisville Hebron High. You got Ed Oliver out of Westfield here in Houston. And he's up front, obviously, in the interior of the defensive line. And Danielle Hunter from Morton Ranch to bring some pressure off the edge. That's a nice compliment to Whitney, JJ, and the others. And then on offense, you're going with Cortland Sutton over Mike Evans.
I know. I battled.
I can't do that, but that's your pick. And hey, he would make any team better. But boy, Mike Evans, oof.
I know. I felt like maybe I was gonna be a little bit younger.
Yeah.
And I don't know that youth is really something that I'm totally concerned about with this team. I don't look at it and go, we got to get younger. But I just feel like if I can get younger with Sutton, I'm not paying Mike Evans prices. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
I'm paying a Cortland Sutton price, which is I'm still on a rookie deal. Now he'll be up for a deal after next year.
Yeah.
And you probably would re-up after this year, but still, you get him at that price as opposed to having to pay for Mike Evans. But Drew, let's just hear some of the names that we left. Now, we said Patrick Mahomes, he's out.
Yeah.
You mentioned some of the quarterbacks. How about some of the running backs? Aaron Jones, the Packers. Adrian Peterson from Palestine.
Oh, yeah.
We mentioned Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, also Emmanuel Sanders from Belleville.
Sure. And SMU.
How about these offensive linemen from state of Texas?
You do Cole Beasley too. If we're gonna keep doing wide receiver players.
Oh yeah, I've got 3 other receivers too. These are the ones I put in the starting 11. I don't know how I'm going to do my offensive line because I got 3 tackles and 2 guards.
You got who? Jake Matthews. Who else?
No, Jake Matthews does not make it.
Wow. Okay. Who else?
Lane Johnson. Trent Williams.
Yeah.
Jason Peters.
Darn.
Even though a little bit older.
Yeah.
My guards are Marcus Cannon, Patriots, and Lane Taylor, the Packers.
You don't want to slide Matthews in? Think he can be like his dad, play a little guard?
Well, yeah, I thought about that. And I wasn't completely done with this. I was just throwing pain in the cans. But my backup tackles are Jake Matthews and Russell Okung.
It's not bad.
Yeah, defensively.
Who's your center? Did you have a center?
I didn't have a center. That was the one thing that I struggled finding. There probably is one. I struggled finding one. So I was like, well, I'm just going with this. Lane Taylor will learn how to play center. Here's some defensive linemen. All right, here's defense. Ashawn Robinson. We drafted Oliver, drafted Daniel Hunter. Obviously, Myles Garrett and Von Miller. Jerry Hughes.
Yeah.
Linebacker. I was looking for a linebacker, and I was like, in the state of Texas, you would think there would be more options at linebacker.
Lately, it's been thin there, yeah, or thinner.
Yeah, which is weird because that's the kind of player that this state seemingly spits out, you would think. But Landon Roberts is pretty good.
Yeah.
Guy who played linebacker for the Patriots. But I just figured I got all these edge rushers. I just need one linebacker on the field, so I went with that. But my secondary is pretty good. The player, you drafted Jamal Adams. There's also Earl Thomas.
Yep.
Corner, you mentioned Jeffrey Okudah. And the corner that I almost drafted that I would have taken instead of Cortland Sutton was Xavier Howard. He played at Houston Wheatley.
You can
played at Baylor.
You can throw Quandre Diggs in there if you want some slot help. I mean, he's
my backups are Dietrich Wise and Marcus Davenport from the Saints.
Nice, yeah.
San Antonio. Quandre Diggs, Kenny Vaccaro at safety. Michael Brockers is a defensive lineman. Tashawn Gibson, safety. Corner Jalen Mills, and then also Solomon Thomas, who was the 3rd pick of the 2017 draft, who still hasn't gotten there yet, but pretty good player coming out of Stanford. So, this state has really good. Now, what's interesting is I went through and I was like, okay, I want to test Mecole Hardman. Is Mecole Hardman just FOS on this, or does he have a point? I was like, okay, let's do this. Here's Georgia's starting offense. Now, you can put them together however you want. Here's their starting offense. Quarterback, obviously number 4 out of Gainesville High. Running back, Nick Chubb. The wide receiver / weapon X, I got 4 of them. Mecole Hardman, Chris Conley, and then wait for it, Alvin Kamara and Tyreek Hill.
That's tricky.
The offensive line, the 2 tackles are Trent Brown and Orlando Brown.
Okay.
Lil Zeus. The guards are Cordy Glenn, James Carpenter, who played at Alabama. And then the center is David Andrews, who played at the University of Georgia and now is with the Patriots. There are 3 tight ends, which I didn't put a tight end because I have Kamara and Hill at the starting 11. Jared Cook, Evan Ingram, Gerald Everett. Backup wide receivers, Demarcus Robinson, Brashad Perryman. So Mecole Hardman kind of had a point in that Georgia's is pretty good. Their defense is pretty good too. Grady Jarrett, Sheldon Rankins, Cameron Hayward, Vic Beasley, Justin Houston, Bud Dupree, Bradley Chubb, Roquan Smith, Casey Hayward, Kevin Byard, Kareem Jackson, Darius Slay.
It's not bad. You got to throw, Florida and California, they probably have a say in some of this too.
Yeah.
And I sent you an article this morning. Bruce Feldman wrote it up. I think it came out yesterday about the USC team from 1979. Holy moly. I didn't realize they had 4 Hall of Famers on it. They had 2 Heisman winners in the backfield. You had Marcus Allen. You had Bruce Matthews, Anthony Munoz. I mean, that team was littered with great players. They're all from the state of California.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure. Oh, yeah. I'm sure if we did, and as I was doing this exercise, I thought, oh, my God, what if you did it with Florida? Because the one thing for a long time with the state of Florida, like, who would you play at quarterback? Like, that was always kind of an issue. Well, that's kind of easy now because Lamar Jackson from Boynton Beach. So those states, they pretty much dominate. And then it's like, all right, well, okay, who would you make the quarterback from California? Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady? Right. So yeah, those states end up being pretty salty. But the one thing I noticed as I did this for Georgia and Texas was, my God, what it will be like for Florida. And I haven't done it for Florida. I thought about writing this as a series from a website, Football Takeover. It would be pretty interesting to go through and see what Florida would come up with, because, my God, I mean, Lamar Jackson is your quarterback. Just, Marquise Brown is all the different players you would have from Florida. And Georgia and Florida players are, I would say, similar. I think the difference is there's a much better coaching in the state of Georgia. They pay a lot better. And so you get a little bit more polished player. The players that come out of Florida, raw. I mean, raw, but really, really good. So this is a very interesting exercise to go back and do. But we could have kept it just to the city of Houston.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we could have done that and we did with Danielle Hunter, Ed Oliver, with those two. Cortland Sutton, Brenham is kind of considered greater Houston area. So we could have done this just for the city of Houston and come across and done pretty well. This last draft was incredible for
Erupted.
the city.
Yeah, it was all Houston. Yeah. 713 taking over. All right, man. Well, this is fun. We'll do it again next week. Until then, peace out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.